I am a former miner. I had a serious injury in 2009. Now, I am disabled. I receive a pension. I worked unofficially with cable TV. Then, I broke my leg on May 4th. I've never concealed my views on the new government, which took over in an illegal way. They came to power after Maidan. Ashekhin Viktor Alexeyevich was the first to be arrested on December 7th. I suspected that they would come to him because he was the head of the commission during the referendum. I didn't participate at all. I had a badly broken knee on May 4th, but I associated with Ashekhin, and they captured me on December 9th because of the company I kept, so to say. 4 people came in, without epaulets, without chevrons, without any sort of identification marks, in black uniforms and balaclavas, without identity documents or an arrest warrant. And they started asking about, me having a sawed-off shotgun, demanding to know where it was. I never had one. I had only an airgun rifle with a license and a pistol for a 22mm CB cap. But it was a match pistol, so it was permitted. They took this pistol without recording it, put handcuffs on me, and told me that we would talk in a different way. They put a plastic bag over my head and tied scotch tape over my eyes so that I couldn't leave. They went searching for Margarita Shmakova. They thought she was our partner in crime, but we only communicated with her in the political environment. They brought us to Krasnoarmysk in the evening that day and said that they would talk to me in the morning. I really didn't know what to think about it. I didn't consider myself guilty. At 8 in the morning, 2 men in civilian clothes came with balaclavas, covering their faces. They said for every wrong answer I would get struck in the chest. Every time they would double a number. They kept asking where I had been someday, who I'd called, and what I said. I didn't know. So they started the interrogation. Other people with chevrons Donbas, Ukrop, and Dnipro 1 hit me again, hit my back more even. My left arm was manacled to a wall pipe. I was sitting on a chair with my back facing them. They knew I had a leg rupture and a head injury. They asked where to beat me so that I wouldn't die. I heard Margarita Shmakova screaming in the next room. They tortured her. They asked if I wanted my wife to scream the same way in half an hour. I asked what I could do to avoid it. They said I could write, that they would tell me. I wrote that I was an artillery rocket system spotter for the DNR, that I was their informant, that I handed over information about the distribution of Ukrainian troops, and arranged provocations, despite the fact that there had never been any for ages. And then I said it all on camera. They put a plastic bag on my head again and brought Margarita and me in one car to Kramatorsk. Later, I figured out that it was the Kramatorsk SBU building. There were tiny rooms, 1 meter wide, 2 meters long, and about 1.5 meters high. My head touched the ceiling. Complete darkness with a closed door. As judged by the water coolers, there were some fan-refrigerated rooms in the basement. I spent one night there in the freezing cold. A 6-liter bottle instead of a toilet, and a 1.5-liter bottle of drinking water that froze in 1 hour. What they didn't beat out of me got frostbitten. On the 15th in the morning, they took me to Konstantinovka. That was with Margarita and Konstantin Solohobyets, who in Solohobyets is from Konstantinovka. He was also detained with us until October 2015, and then he was exchanged. On December 23rd, we were called to the interrogation. I was so happy because I could exit from a basement to the legal terrain, but not a chance. An investigator looked at my papers and said that there was no sense to read that because any lawyer could throw this case out within an hour and a half, and that you would go to the prisoner swap instead. On December 26th, people were exchanged, but we were taken away. It was planned that there would be an exchange of 250 people, but they ended up only exchanging 222. On February 5th, it was still 2015 then, people from Luhansk came to us. We understood that they prepared a prisoner swap. 5 days later, we were hidden again. I think it was an examination because we were placed in different rooms with bags on our heads. And on February 25th, people were exchanged again. I saw the list. 49 people were planned to be exchanged, but instead it only happened to 28 people. 2 of our women were exchanged, Margarita Shmakova and Valia Sergeyevna. But we were still imprisoned. The guards would have drinking bouts every evening. They sprayed pepper spray in our dishes. They took us to the corridors and told us to lay face down on the floor. "You were separatists," they said, clicking a gun. As for me, I knew that it would only go off if it were armed, but some people were afraid that it would go off regardless. One of them was watching through the cell window. Different things happened. In March, I felt really bad because of my beaten and frostbitten kidneys. I didn't get any treatment except analgesic. At the end of a month, it got worse. I had a high fever of 105 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 days, and we couldn't get my temperature down. They took me to the hospital under the name of Serhiy Petrovich Ivanov. They warned me about that on the way. I couldn't remember my home address. I had forgotten it. I remembered only my full name. The first time they took me to the emergency room in Kharkiv. Then I was brought to the 17th hospital, and finally I was operated on in the regional urology center. One nephron had already stopped functioning when I was frostbitten. Then the kidneys started to work again. I had to bleed. They decided to cut it out. Now I have a scar for the operation. I was there from October until November 26th under the name of Serhiy Petrovich Ivanov. And after that, I was returned to the pre-trial detention center. When they took me from home, my weight was 90 kilograms, and after the hospital, it was less than 50. They brought me there by hand. Konstantin and I were put in one cell so that to take care of me, to debride my wounds. On July 25th in the morning, a gatekeeper came. He told us to bundle up. It was time to leave. We kept our bags. They needed to be searched. They took us to the investigators. They, in turn, told us to sign an association agreement with the SBU, as we almost were SBU officers. And to read that aloud on camera, it was all to make it seem like we were legally working with them. It was dirt on us. They took us towards Izum. We didn't know then where we were going. Maybe for an exchange, maybe not. We even thought about execution because they didn't know what to do with us. They placed 2 men from Druzhkovka, Yuri and Stas, between Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. Dmitry Grichin and Konstantin Vladimirov, Bashkirian, they didn't have documents, were placed in Kramatorsk. And we were set down between Kramatorsk and Druzhkovka. They gave us 100 hryvnia and documents. People buried us. All people in Ukrainsk had buried us. We couldn't contact them. My wife waited for me, but a lot of people did not. But Alexeyevich and I were lucky. I'm not going to move from here because I was born here. My parents are buried here. I'm not a separatist. I'm standing for Ukraine. Ukrainians are wonderful. Both my parents are from the Vinnytsia region, almost from neighboring villages. I know the Ukrainian language well, but it's more comfortable for me to speak Russian. Ukrainians are wonderful, but individuals who are not responsible for the people who came to power, they don't want this nation. They don't work for the nation. They complete tasks for the State Department. It might exist today, but it cannot last forever. It won't exist tomorrow. But people, Ukrainians are the same. I'm not guilty before Ukraine. Ukraine is guilty before me right now.